Let's get started with chapter 3. Chugging right along. Some of the concepts in this chapter are things we've already talked about, so we might run through them a little bit quickly, but we'll spend a little bit more time on other concepts. And so, simple question, what is food cost? Cost of the ingredients, good. Okay, what else? Any other additional thoughts?
Anything that's used to produce the product.
Yeah, anything that's used to produce the product that we're selling, okay? So pretty much all the ingredients. If we, those of you who are in lunch today, you can put a cost on all those ingredients that we used, compare that to the money we brought in for sales, and determine what our food cost percentage is, okay? When does food become part of our food cost?
It's introduced to the production.
When we use it, okay? If it's sitting in storage, it's not part of our production yet, so it's not part of our food cost, okay? So that's how we're gonna calculate our food cost is based on when food is actually used in the production of product. So our beginning inventory, we start with that. That's the inventory that we have, let's say downstairs right now. We can go into our dry storage, we can go into all of our refrigeration and determine what the cost is of all those ingredients that are in the storage right now. That is our beginning inventory, okay? And then we think about what does this action purchasing do to our inventory? Does it add to our inventory or does it take away from our inventory? What do you think, Sebastian? We add. So we're gonna take our beginning inventory. We're gonna add our purchases for the period, and that equals our total available inventory. Okay, total available inventory. So on the on your notes page, there is a section that we're working on right now. Basically on the side right here, we're gonna be writing this formula, beginning inventory plus purchases. And then in the two squares, we'll go ahead and do a couple of examples here in just a moment, okay? So that way you have the formula right here on in the margin handy for reference, okay? And then ending inventory, if it's still in our inventory, does that add to or does it take away from the product that we've already used? Does that take away from our inventory or is it part of our food cost? Are we gonna add or subtract right here?
Subtract.
We're gonna subtract because that ending inventory is not part of our food cost yet. And so this is our cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold, okay? So remember when we talk about our triangle, percent, sales, and cost, this is the cost we're talking about. This is where we get this number for that top portion of the triangle. The cost that it took us to produce all that food, okay? So let's do a couple of examples. So February, our beginning inventory is $3,500. We added $10,000 worth of purchases. So what is our total available inventory? 13,500? Is our total available inventory. And then we go in end of the month and we count all of our inventory that's available. And we have that ending, so we subtract it. And what do we get for our cost of goods sold?
11,000.
$11,000. Okay. So if I were to use my triangle, this was where my $11,000 would go. And if I was looking for my percentage, where would I find this sales number? Where would I find that number? What do you think? I've got 11,000 in costs because of this. Where would I find the number for sales? How much I did in sales?
Purchases.
Not our purchases. How do we document all of our sales in a restaurant?
Inventory.
I think I heard it.
Seats.
The receipts, right? So our computer system is keeping track. Every time we sell something, it keeps track of how much we've sold and the dollar amount and what our sales is. So end of the month, I'm going to run a report, and that report will tell me what this dollar amount is for sales. And that will allow me to get my percentage. Okay? So now, write all this down. I know it's kind of a lot. Write it in that top section right here. I'll give you a second. Because we will need this information for the next problem. Okay. Do about 30 more seconds. You don't need to worry about the triangle. That's just extra information, primarily what we have on the board. All right, so now we're into March. What is our beginning inventory for March?
11,000.
11,000 was our cost of goods sold. That's a good.
Continuing from the last
Uh-huh.
one. 25.
2,500. We got that from February. When February ended, we ended up with 2,500. That becomes our new beginning inventory. Hopefully, no product went missing between the end of February 28th and March 1st. We weren't open for business. Okay. In this case, we purchased 14,500 for the period. So a total of 17,000. Subtract our 3,500, and our cost of goods sold is what?
13,500.
13,500. Okay. So in February, we did 11,000 in cost of goods sold. March, we did $2,500 more in the cost of goods sold. Why do you think that is the case between February to March? Why might we do more? Why would we spend more money on the cost of food between February to March?
There's more days in March.
There's more days in March, right? We have at least 3 more days, 28, 29, 30, 31, 28, 29, 30, 30. Yeah, 3 more days. Okay, what else?
More busy.
What's that?
We're more busy.
Yeah, why would it be busier in March than it was February?
Oh, because spring break.
Spring break happens in March, okay? For all these different reasons. Now, just because I'm just throwing all these things out, these are all just theoretical, right? As a manager, you have to start thinking critically. You have to start thinking about what does this number mean and why did we get this way, okay? If your sales are the same, okay? If your sales are the same between February and March, which means the dollar amount that you brought in money is the same, but your cost went up, is that a good thing? No. Okay, that's not a good thing. If our costs go up, then we have to also make sure our sales is going up in the same way. Okay. Talking about transfers. Transfers are something, if you really want to be super meticulous with your accounting, transfers is a type of credit that you have to take into consideration. Okay. So for example, I worked at Cheshire Hamburgers all through high school. if Chester's on 410 was really busy and they were getting short on hamburger buns and hamburger patties, and my store, which where I worked was over by Randolph Air Force Base, if they weren't that busy, they'd call over and say, "Hey, we've got 3 more hours left, and I think I only have enough meat to get through 2 hours. Do you have maybe 2 boxes of meat and 3 packages of buns that I can borrow?" And if my manager goes and looks based on our volume of business, yep, sounds great. I'm gonna send David over. He'll take all the stuff over for you. Those 3 packages of buns and 2 boxes of meat cost money, and it was delivered to this store. And so if we don't document that transfer of product from one store to another, then this store is going to have great sales because they were really busy, but their cost is going to seem really low because they used extra product that they didn't pay for. Whereas this store was going to be not so busy, our sales would be down, but our cost would look super high because we gave product away. Okay. So they have to do that transfer from one to the other. We also have to do transfers if you want to be very particular between food and beverage costs. Okay. Between food and beverage costs, we want to look at that food to bar transfers. When does food become part of food cost? When it's used. Okay. Food ingredients are not always part of food cost. They might be part of a beverage cost. How might we use, Justina, how might we use a food ingredient in a beverage? Smoothies, yeah, absolutely. So strawberries, bananas, oranges, all those blueberries, whatever, are going to be food items, but we're using them in the production of a beverage, a smoothie. Okay. Now let's go. What else? What other examples you want to throw out there? With food, garnishes, and yeah, to put on top of the beverage. Good. Pineapple wedges, orange wedges, lemon slices, all of that stuff.
But mash up, fruits for,
Yeah, absolutely. When you mash up the fruits for the beverage, good. Yeah. My favorite's a Bloody Mary. And if you put a celery stalk and you put olives and lime and bacon slices and all that fun stuff and a beautiful garnish, I'm super happy. Um, all that's food, but it's in the production of a beverage. Now, flip-flop, how are liquids used in the preparation of food items? Zarina, what do you think?
Um, it's when you're like making something like milk.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're using milk, which is usually a beverage, you use it when you're baking something, that becomes part of the food cost because it is part of a food ingredient. Garrett or Jessica online, any comments for y'all about how we can use liquids in food to become part of food cost?
I'm good. I was bartender for 15 years at Chili's. I got this one.
Yeah, so how did you use liquids in the production of food items
How did we use the liquids
or beverage items?
in production of for the food? Well, they really didn't use a whole lot of my product. I used more of their product. I used a lot of the fruits to make bulk batches of margarita mix, blueberries,
Gotcha.
strawberry, oranges, stuff like that.
Okay.
They didn't take much of my liquor though. We didn't have any wine sauces or anything like that that would have required alcohol or wine from us. But
Okay. Cool. How about you, Garrett?
I don't know. It just isn't really, even in the video when I watched the video and it was the food to bar transfers and stuff and you were going over like the costing for it, it was just something that didn't really stick with me.
Okay.
But I'm slowly getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you've never made, how many of you have taken basic food prep? Chef 1301. And did y'all make a beurre blanc sauce? The beurre blanc is white wine. Typically, you would drink white wine, but if it's used in the production of a sauce, then you would use that. If you wanted to be super meticulous and you wanted to know where your product was going, you would do a transfer from that liquid. Whatever I buy that bottle of wine for, that cost would now be moved over into my food cost in the production of that sauce. Okay. If you make a beer batter for onion rings or fish or whatever, that beer becomes part of food costs. All right. Standardized recipes. What is a standardized recipe?
What's that recipe?
Okay, good. A set recipe. Excellent. Why is it important or why is it advantageous to have standardized recipes in your operations? Yeah, Daniel.
Consistency?
Good for consistency. That way our guests get the same product every single time.
You don't waste product.
So you know how much product to order so you don't waste it. Good. Any other advantages?
You know exactly how many portions you're gonna be making. from
You know
that.
how many portions you're gonna get. And what did you say, Diego? Sorry.
I was gonna say the same thing as he said.
Yeah, the food waste. It helps control the food waste. So with that, if we know, here's the thing. When I think about standardized recipes, okay? Sometimes people call me a chef. I am not a chef. Okay. I can follow a recipe. I know a little bit to where I can make up some stuff, right? I know some foundational stuff that I can add in extra flavors. I know what's going to complement each other, but I am not necessarily a chef. What I think about is a chef can create the recipe, a cook will follow the recipe. So if you're a chef and you make a standardized recipe, then your cooks should be able to follow that recipe and produce the things over and over and over again. So that's what's one important reason for having standardized recipes. It also, like you mentioned before, it helps us know what to order. So we have two different types of specifications when it comes to the products that we're ordering: quality and quantity. Okay. Quality is things about the product itself, and then quantity is how much do we actually order. Okay. So let me give you an example. One of my friends used to own a deli. They had a Chinese chicken salad on their menu. And they started realizing that a lot of people weren't ordering that particular salad. So instead of buying a larger can of mandarin oranges, which was the only menu item that used mandarin oranges, they decided to go to HEB and just get a really small can. So they didn't waste it. That's the quantity in their standardized recipe. This is how much we need to purchase, okay? The quality is different things about those items, okay? So let's talk about, Sebastian, give me an ingredient that we use in the kitchen.
Ingredient we use in the kitchen.
Any ingredient.
Meat.
What kind of meat?
To,
So steak, beef. Okay, so let's say steak is our item. What are some different types of qualities considering steak so we know what kind of product we need to order?
okay.
What's that? Okay, so how much fat cap there is on there? What else?
USDA grade.
Okay, the grade. Do we want prime? Do we want choice? Do we want select? Okay. The grade is important. What else?
How fresh it is.
Okay, so is it fresh or frozen? Anything else?
Type of cut.
There we go, the cut. Are we serving ribeye? Are we serving New York strip? Are we serving tenderloin? Okay, these are all qualities of steak. If I just say, hey, Andrew, go order some steaks, what would you come back with?
Anything I wanted.
Anything you wanted, okay? Awesome. I prefer ribeye over New York strip. right? I like all the fat, I like all the marbling. But a lot of people, other people like tenderloin versus New York strip or ribeye. So if you just say, hey, go get me some steaks, chances are they're probably going to order what they want. Okay. Now, if I am making fajitas, am I going to buy USDA prime Wagyu beef? No, not for fajitas. That would be a waste of that product, okay? And so using that standardized recipe helps us know what the quality that we want to go after and what we're actually going to order, and then also the quantity, okay? Any questions about standardized recipes and quality versus quantity? All right, so our portion size. This goes back to what Lydia said, so we know how many portions we're going to get out of our recipe. That's one benefit of having a standardized recipe. Our portion sizes can be controlled by weight, volume, and count. Okay. What products are typically controlled portion by weight? Proteins, yep. So you'll have like a quarter-pound burger, a third pound, a half pound, 16-ounce steak. That's all done by weight. Okay. What else? So flour is an ingredient in something else, right? So now we're talking about the finished product, and we're going to control that product based on either weight, volume, or count. What else is done by weight? Anybody ever been to like a deli where they do sides like potato salad or pasta salad, and they put them on the scale, and it's what you charge by the pound, and then just like in the deli meat when they slice the meat and the cheese, they do the same thing. There's some delis who do the same thing with sides. They'll put that on the scale and charge you based on the weight.
There's stores like Orange Leaf where they do it by how much your frozen yogurt weighs.
Yeah, absolutely. Frozen. So yeah, I'll put that up here. Frozen yogurt. The next time you're at HEB, if you get like that chicken salad or something like in the deli prepared section, turn it over and look at the price. The price will say something like $4 per pound. And then however much the weight is, that's what gives you what your total cost is. Okay.
You go to the grocery store and you get produce.
Produce, yep. Okay, yes. So we're thinking now on the finished product. So what we're selling as far as a restaurant's concerned. So what are things that we are controlling our portions by the size? Now, what about volume? Volume is typically what? Liquids. Okay. Our volume is typically liquid, soups, beverages. You know, you have a cup of soup versus a bowl of soup. You have a 8-ounce cup of milk or juice as your small. Maybe you have a 12-ounce as a large. Okay, so that is all done by volume. Okay, and then count. What else is done by count? Give me some examples of things that are done by count.
Pastries.
Pastries, good. What else? Appetizers, right? You're gonna get 5 mozzarella sticks or 4 slices of a quesadilla or 6 shrimp for their shrimp cocktail. So that's all done by count. We can control that by the count. Okay. One thing you want to keep in mind when we're talking about costing out standardized recipes is that volume and weight are not always equal. Volume and weight are not always equal. What do I mean by that? Volume and weight. Any thoughts?
They're not equal.
Yep, they're not equal. If I take a cup of flour, how many ounces is 1 cup of flour in volume? in volume. It's 8 ounces. A cup is 8 ounces in volume, right? But if I take a cup of flour and a cup of brown sugar, do they weigh the same? They're the same volume. They're both 8 ounces. They don't have the same weight. Okay. So in the project that we're going to be working on for this class, I'm going to give you a website that will help calculate the difference, the conversion from volume to weight. Okay. So you just got to keep that in mind as we going through. It's typically if it's a dry ingredient. What is an example of a volume measurement? We mentioned one, cups. What else? What's that? Milliliters, yes.
Ounces.
Yes, ounces if they are liquid. Okay, so we call those fluid ounces. If it's a fluid ounce, it's volume. What else? Tablespoon and teaspoon. Okay, quart, gallon, all those are going to be volumes. Weight, ounces, pounds, grams, things like that. Okay, questions, comments, concerns about that? So if I ask for the weight of a tablespoon of cinnamon, your first question is tablespoon is volume. My first question is it a dry ingredient or is it liquid? If it's liquid, then I know a tablespoon equals how much?
Yeah, 0.5.
Half of a fluid ounce. Exactly. A tablespoon is equal to half of a fluid ounce. But if I'm asking for the weight, I'm going to ask for the tablespoon of cinnamon. If it's a dry good, I have to convert it to weight, and I'll use that website for that. Okay. We've already talked about this right here. So we're going to skip it and move on. And we're going to go over this in more detail when we go over the project. The other part that I want to get into today is the conversions of as purchased and our edible portions. Okay. So as purchased, AP, is how much product is actually delivered to our store. Okay, so how much product is actually delivered? Our edible portion, EP, is how much we have left over to serve. Okay. Left over to serve. And then our yield percentage or edible yield, does the same thing, edible yield. That equals basically the comparison of how much is left over to how much we actually purchased. Okay. And guess what? We're going to use the triangle. Same formulas. Oops, sorry. This is division, just like before. This is multiplication, just like before. We have our yield percentage or edible yield. That's the same thing. Okay. And then we have which one on top? Why?
Because it's the part.
Exactly. The edible portion is the part. The as purchased is the whole. Part divided by the whole. Okay. So that's your triangle. 8 is as purchased, refers to the amount left over after, no, sorry. 8 is our edible portion. 9 is our as purchased. 10 is our yield percentage or edible yield. Okay. And then our triangle, just like we used our other one. So let's do some math. If I start with 10 pounds of bell peppers, and after I've cleaned them up, I've taken all the ribbing out, taken all the seeds, take the stem off. Maybe I roasted them and the skin came off. Okay, whatever. I'm left over with 80 or 8.5 pounds of bell peppers. Okay. What is my edible yield? What's my formula? I'm looking for edible yield,
EP over AP.
EP divided by AP. Okay. So EP 8.5 pounds divided by the AP of 10 pounds gives me a yield percentage of 0.85, which means move that decimal place over 85%. So my edible yield is 85% for these bell peppers. Okay. Questions how we got that? All right. So move on to our next question. I have 25 pounds of bell peppers. How much will I have left over after I trim and everything? What's that?
85%.
I'll have 85% of it. That's a good point. So my edible yield is 85%. Okay. So if I'm looking for the EP, cover it up. And what's left over? Edible yield. Times, there we go. Excellent. Now we're getting there. Times
As purchased.
as purchased. Thank you. Okay. So we have 25 pounds times 0.85. Remember, I moved that decimal place back over. And I'm going to get an answer of what, Diego? Say one more time?
Is that 0.25?
No, it's 25 pounds times 0.85.
21.25.
21.25. We all agree? Okay, perfect. So if my recipe calls for 25 pounds of bell peppers, can I just order 25 pounds of bell peppers? No, I need to order more. So if my edible portion is 35 pounds of bell peppers, I've got 85% yield. So if I'm looking for my as purchased, cover that up and we have EP divided by yield percentage, okay? For the edible yield. So if we do 35 pounds divided by 0.85 is Serena, what did you get? $41.17. Okay, so I may say 41.5 pounds. Round that up a little bit. But I need to order at least 41 or at least 42 pounds in order to end up with 35 pounds at the end. Okay, because I'm going to chop off the top, I'm going to take off the stem, I'm going to take out the seeds, all that product. Now, does that mean that all that product just goes in the trash? No, what could I do with like the tops and the bottom of my bell pepper?
Reduce it.
I could put it in stock. I can maybe make a roasted red pepper soup. Okay. And so I can take that product. Does it matter if I blend it up, what it looks like beforehand? No. So if I want nice little beautiful matchsticks of a julienne for a nice salad or something, the top portion can go into a sauce somewhere or it can go into a soup so it can complement the whole menu. Okay. So utilizing that allows us to extend that at that point it's going to reduce our yield percentage because we can use it in other products. Okay. So I'm not gonna go into this a whole lot. We are gonna do a quick, not a quick, it's gonna be a pretty lengthy math problem together here in just a moment. But if we quickly want to find out what our actual cost per pound is, we can take our $2.50, this is our AP cost, and we can divide by our yield factor of 0.55. So what is 250 per pound divided by 0.55?
Wouldn't you be multiplying them?
Nope. I'll show you why in just a second. Let's try that. If we take 250 times 0.55, what do you get?
About 1.38.
Okay. 1.38 per pound. Okay, and if we divide it, what do we get? Justina, what did you get when you divide $2.50 divided by 0.55? Okay. So 4.54, 4.55 per pound. Because we are losing product, our cost per pound has to go up. Okay? Our cost per pound cannot go down. When we are losing product, we paid for this, but I only get to serve this much. Okay? I paid for this much, I only get to serve this much. That means my cost per pound actually has to go up because I only have a little bit left to serve. Okay? So that's why we have to divide. Now this one, can we just do a simple division? If I want to figure out what my cost of a 6-ounce portion is, can I divide 250 divided by 0.55? What do you think? Yes, thumbs up, thumbs down for no, thumbs sideways for I'm not sure what you're asking me. Can I, up here, we did 250 per pound divided by 0.5 gave us $4.54 per pound. That's our edible portion cost. Can I do the same thing with this one? Can I figure out how much 6 ounces cost just by dividing 250 by 0.55? Why?
It's a different amount, like.
We have different units, right? This is pounds and this is ounces. So we have to convert. I'm going to show you how to convert here in just a moment. Okay. That's the brisket math page that you have. That's what we're going to go over in just a moment with converting those costs. Okay. All right. Let's see how far we get in 5 minutes with this. Okay. So we've got a breakfast plate with 2 eggs, 2 hash browns, 2 slices of toast, 2 strips of bacon, or 2 sausage links. So this is my standard recipe. My standard recipe for a breakfast plate. Okay. And we sell it for $6.75. Okay. That's my selling price. So a case of eggs, 30 dozen, costs $38. A case of 50-count potatoes is $47. Bacon, 12 strips, costs $3.85. And sausage, 20 links per pound is $2.85 per pound. Loaf of bread is 24 slices. It costs $1.86. So let's figure out how much it costs us to make these breakfast plates. Okay. So 2 eggs, AP to recipe. How many eggs does our recipe call for? 2. 2 eggs. Okay. And we purchase 30 dozen. Oops. $38 or 30 dozen. Do my units match? No, I have dozen and I have eggs, but they do not match. So how do I get down to this? I gotta get down to the cost of one egg. How do I do that?
Change the units of dozen to individual eggs.
Okay, so how many eggs are in 30 dozen?
60.
12 eggs times 30 dozen is 360 eggs. So I divide 38 by 360. And what do I get? Andrew, what'd you get? $38 divided by 360.
Like 0.11.
Okay, good. So 11 cents per egg. Excellent. We multiply that by our 2 eggs. And eggs cost us how much?
22 cents.
22 cents. Okay? 22 cents. Next, hash browns. Let's do purple. Hash browns, AP to recipe. My recipe is what? Hash browns, is it to be my hash browns? Case of 50 count potatoes is 47. It's the same thing about our hash browns.
Probably just one potato.
It just says hash brown.
Probably like one makes a serving.
I'm gonna say it's not on here, but half a potato. So half a potato is our hash browns. Oh, that's odd. Never put that in there. Okay, so my recipe is half of a potato and a 50 count, so $47 per 50 potatoes. Do my units match? Potato, potato? Yeah, right? So we divide 47 divided by 50 is 94 cents per potato. Multiply it by 0.5. And my hash browns equals how much? 47 cents. Okay, what's next? Toast. Okay, AP to recipe is toast. 2 slices. A loaf of bread is $1.86. Need to update these numbers. Divided by 24 slices. Okay. So again, $1.86 divided by 24 slices gives me 8 cents per slice. Multiply by 2, and my bread is what? 16 cents. Okay. Those 3 things are equal, right? Every plate has eggs, hash browns, and toast. Okay, so let's add those up right now. 0.22 plus 0.47 plus 0.16. We got 85 cents. So far, my breakfast plate cost me 85 cents. Okay. What 2 things are we missing?
Bacon.
Bacon or sausage. They can choose bacon or sausage. Okay. So let's do a couple more. Let's go with green for bacon. AP to recipe. Our bacon is 12 strips per pound and it costs us $3.85. So $3.85. for 12 strips. And I need 2 strips of bacon. My unit's the same? Okay, good. So $3.85 divided by 12 gives me 33 cents per strip times 2 is 66 cents. Okay. So 66 cents plus 85 cents is how much? $1.51. So my breakfast plate with bacon cost me $1.51 to make it. Okay, see how that works? Last one. For sausage. Woo, we're getting full here. AP to recipe. Our sausage is 20 links and costs $2.85. So $2.85 for 20 links, and I need 2 links. My units are the same. I'm good to go. That's 15 cents per link. Go per link. So if I add 15 cents per link times 2 is what? 15 times 2? 30 cents, okay. Add that to my 85. It cost me $1.15 per plate, per sausage. Okay. Now, if I'm selling this for $6.75, okay, and I'm trying to decide how am I going to price out my menu price, would I use the sausage or the bacon cost? Why? It's more expensive. So if I base my costs on the bacon, and every time I sell a sausage plate, my profit's going to be just a little bit more. Okay. So I always take, if you can, if you want, you can say the bacon plate is this much and the sausage plate is this much if you wanted to. But to keep it easy, your bacon plate is this, like your plate is this with bacon or sausage. Okay. And then every time someone orders a sausage plate, your cost, your profit is a little bit more. We're going to sell it for the same amount. Okay. So real quick, because I'm 2 minutes over what I wanted to do, that's okay. Let's pull some of our concepts together real quick. Okay. I sell it for $6.75. So if my cost is $1.51 for the bacon and divided by my $6.75, what is my food cost percentage for the bacon plate? 151 divided by 675 is 22.4%. Okay. For sausage, at $1.15 divided by 675. $17.17%. See the difference of the cost percentage? So every time that I sell a sausage plate, I'm going to make a little bit more money. My profit's going to be a little bit more. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? Cool. So everyone go ahead and pull out the excuse me, the brisket math. Those of you in the modules, let me just make sure I have that in there for you. I don't. Let me add it. Okay, I want chapter 3, brisket math, numbers. All right, so I've added that in the chapter 3 in-class discussion.
So, Mr. Naminsky, I'm sorry, I haven't been able to download the in-class discussion notes. It keeps telling me that the file is blocked or locked.
Yeah, I saw your email. Let's hang out after class and see if we can fix that.
Okay, cool.
All right, so in the last 9 minutes, this is gonna be a whirlwind. Okay, it's gonna be a crazy whirlwind. I want you to write just the formulas, no numbers, as far as the numbers from the assignment. So that way you can go back and fill in the blanks with your formulas. Okay. So in this, we have 10 minutes. We can do this. Okay. Where are my annotation? Okay. So we're asking here how many portions are in a 12-pound brisket. Okay. Our portions are 6 ounces. So we want to take our brisket size. I want you to write this exactly like I have it on the screen. Brisket size times the yield percentage. That will give you your edible yield, edible portion in pounds. Okay, edible portion in pounds. Can I simply divide by 6 ounces? What do you think? Yes, no?
No.
No, because our units are different. So I want to multiply by 16 ounces to give me my edible portion in ounces. Okay, edible portion in ounces. Then I can divide by my serving size. I'm going to put this in order right here. We have a 12-pound brisket times the yield percentage of 0.55. Okay. 12 pounds times 0.55 is 6.6 pounds. I'm going to multiply by 16 ounces to get 105 ounces, 0.6, and then divide by my serving size of 6 ounces. And that gives me 17.6 servings. Okay, you can choose whether you want to keep it at 17.6 or you can choose if you want to bump it down to 17. Can we bump it up to 18? Why?
It's not a complete.
Pick up some brisket, right? So it's either got to be 17 or 17.6. Chances of you only cooking one brisket is pretty small. So if you cook 2 briskets, that 0.6 and 0.6 will add together to make 1.2, so 1 extra serving. Okay, so you decide what you want to do, whether you want to keep it all at the 17.6 or keep it all at 17. Okay, so how much money in sales? Let's go back to here. How much money in sales should we get from a 12-pound brisket? Well, we take our selling price and we multiply by our number of servings. Simple. Answer from number 1. So in this case, how much do we sell it for? $16.95. We multiply, I'm going to go with 17.6 servings. Okay, so 16.95 times 17.6 is $298.32. That's how much money in sales I should expect to get from that brisket. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns so far? If you haven't written this down completely, I recommend taking a picture real quick. So I'm gonna delete this so we can move on to the next couple ones. Or you can go back and watch the videos. Okay. So what is the portion cost, the cost per portion of the brisket? So what we want to do is we want to take the portion cost, we want to take the as purchased cost times the size of the brisket. Okay, that will give us our total cost. And then we're going to divide by the number of servings. This is a lot easier way than what I was showing you on the PowerPoint where we divided by the yield percentage. So what is my as purchase cost for brisket? How much do I pay?
$2.50 per pound.
$2.50 per pound times 12 pounds is $30. Thank you. $30. And my $30 divided by 17.6, because remember, I'm going to keep that 0.6 on there. Is $1.71 per serving. That's my cost. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about that? I take how much it cost me to buy that brisket and just divide it. Cost per servings. That word per, remember, is a division line. Cost per servings. Number 4, food cost percentage. What tool are we going to use?
Triangle.
The triangle. What is my cost for my serving?
$1.71.
$1.71. And what is my selling price?
$16.95.
$16.95. So my 171 divided by 16.95 is essentially 10%. 10.1%. Okay, 10.1%. Questions, comments, concerns about 1 through 4? I know I'm going through it really quickly. That's okay. It's being recorded, so you can go back and watch it if you need to. Okay. Now I have 3 minutes to get through the next ones, and that's okay. We're going to do it. Chris booked a party for 250 people. They're all having brisket. How many total pounds does he need to purchase? Okay, so I'm going to take the number of guests. Number of guests times the portion size will give me my edible portion in ounces. Okay, but my question is, how many pounds does he need to purchase? So I need to divide by my yield factor percentage. Okay. I always like to divide by the yield factor first, so that way people will understand they need to do that. So we get the AP, my as purchased, but it's still in ounces. So how do I get my ounces into pounds?
Divide by 16.
Divide by 16 ounces. Okay. So, real quick, 250 guests times, is it 6-ounce portion?
Yes.
Okay, so 250 times 6 is equal to 1,500 ounces. I divide by my yield factor of 0.55. And I get 2,727.3 ounces. Can I call up Cisco and say I need 2,727 ounces of brisket? No, I divide that by 16 ounces. And I get 170.5 pounds. I need to order 170.5 pounds of brisket to feed 250 people. Okay? Total cost of brisket in the last minute of class. Okay? My total cost, I'm gonna take my as purchased cost per pound and multiply by the number of pounds needed. Super simple. Okay? So $2.50 per pound times 170.5 pounds is $426.25. Okay? That's how much money it's going to cost me to purchase the brisket for those 250 people. The biggest thing that people miss and they mess up on, this is really important for you to understand. I know I'm going a little bit over, but that's okay, because I will finish up in the next 30 seconds, next minute, okay? Is this part right here. Applying that yield factor percentage. If I only purchase enough based on 6 ounces times, if I only purchase 1,500 ounces or 93 pounds, when I cook that brisket, it's going to shrink down. I'm going to have less than that. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is not taking into account the yield factor. We have to apply that yield factor with a divide in order to get the higher number. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns? Let me look at Canvas real quick. Clear all. I just want to look at your quizzes just so I can give y'all any pointers. We have an AP quiz and a chapter 2 quiz that are both due on Monday. So if you preview this will give you some information about, like, this will be your cost using your AP EP triangle. Okay, using your AP EP triangle. Does this format work for you guys to have it one at a time, or do you want to see them all at the same time?
One at a time.
One at a time? Okay, sounds good. That sounds good to me. Notice real quick, this is something right here, 8 ounces, but we want pounds, so make sure your units match, okay? And then I think the last few questions, no, they're all like this, never mind. It's your AP edible portion quiz. I think your chapter 2 quiz is a brisket math problem. Nope, that's chapter 2. Just kidding. Never mind. Sorry. Okay, never mind. I'm good. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Watching the chapter.
Chapter 3 quiz, I think, is actually, chapter 3 quiz is your brisket math. So we're gonna go over chapter 4 next week. Okay, we're gonna take a couple weeks to get through chapter 4. But chapter 3 quiz is your brisket math. Okay. Thank you all so much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Talk about chapter 4. Chugging right along. AP chapter 2 and chapter 3 are all due on Monday. All right, just let me stop the recording.
Okay.